Okay, it is rainy and gray as Alaska is in September. And I don't know why I'm making a video. I felt inspired to do so. Funny, like sometimes that thought creeps in, like, damn, I don't really like working, you know? But the reality is so anyway, the thought is like, I don't like working. So wouldn't it be nicer if I could just make videos and make money? But it's like I almost refuse. I don't know, like something in me just is not willing to do that. Like, what it feels like is I'd be making videos about letting go, while through the use of those videos to make money, be holding on. That's what it feels like. Who knows? Maybe it will happen. I feel like I am sitting in paradox. And something in me is just willing to be here. And not know. It's like weird, like I'm like, my mind like should be freaking out, but it's not. Even though it doesn't feel like I know what's happening. But kind of like I don't need to know what's happening. It's like the whole freaking journey like is like things need to be different. And then it's like the dropping away of the things that need to be different. Which feels like something being different, but it's not something being different because it's the acceptance of the feeling that things need to be different as part of things being okay. And then it's no longer referring to anything, it just is what it is. It's like a collapsing, that's what it is. It's like constantly collapsing everything. You have this belief that seems to refer to a future and a past, and a me and a you, and a good and a bad, and all of these like dualistic conceptual models. And then it's like, there's just a thought about good and bad. Wow, there's a feeling that's being interpreted as bad. Goom, 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 goom. And it doesn't mean that then anything changes. It's just what it is. And then the more that there's the seeing of it for what it is, the less you can believe that something's good and bad. Like even the feeling of like, and maybe this will happen in deeper realization, which is like the feeling of preference, you know, like there seems to be like a really like present moving away or moving towards something. But then like there's like this overarching like conceptual framework of like this is good or bad, right? Like to that framework, something that feels good could be bad, and something that feels good could be good, and something that feels bad could be bad, and stuff. So it's like, it's not like the good and bad on like the physical level disappears, but it's like the good and bad on that conceptual level. Meaning like, who the fuck cares is kind of what it's like. Like, I don't know, I feel sad. What is sadness? I don't know, that's just a thought. Meaning literally the thought that comes in, like even that like self-inquiry thought that's like, what is sadness, is just another thought. Like, do you need to know what sadness is? Do you need to know that sadness is not sadness? Do you need to know that sadness is sadness? Eventually it's like the curiosity is no longer in thought. The curiosity is like in sensation, and then sometimes it's like, oh, that it's not like going down a thought loop to try to figure out what sadness is. It's like, oh my god, there's a thought here that says this is sadness. Is this sadness? And then the thought might be like, this is sadness. Yep, this is sadness. And it's like, oh, but that's just a thought. There's sadness. Is this sadness? Whoop. And it's not like there's another thought there that says, no, this is not sadness, because there is no other thought there. It's just, there's no thought. It's just what it is. And there might be that feeling of like, ugh. But so what? Even like conflict, you know, it's like really difficult conversations with people where like, or me like getting angry, or like, it's like, so what? And not like so what, like it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter, but like not so what in like a dismissive way of like, F you, why are you upset with me? Or why did that anger not feel good for you? But just like, there is no sense of badness around it. Like, it's just the way it's showing up. So like, usually there's, my dog is just going crazy right now digging a hole. Hako, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You, dude, is that fun for you? Oh, you're working so hard. Good boy, Akko. Wow, he's good at that, isn't he? Okay, I'll fill in the hole later. It's like, oh, like, why do you think this is bad? Is kind of what it's like. It's like, if good and bad no longer exist in your universe, then when they're presented, they're like, that's weird. Like, what's going on there? And you know, and then sometimes like, I don't have any room for it anymore. Like, and then it's just like a boundary. But then it's like, so what? Like, then there's just a boundary, you know? And this like leads me to like the paradox that I started off with, where it's like being and not being. Because the mind gets a hold of not being in these like spiritual senses, and it's like, who is the one who feels angry? And like, what even is anger? And what even is sadness? And like, you know, why are you reacting like this? You could not react. And why do you feel this way? You could feel this way. You could feel joy. You could, you know, and it's like, yeah, to the conceptual mind. But right here, this is what it is. And the mind goes, yeah, well, how do you even know what it is? And it's like, that's just a thought. I don't know. How do I know anything? Like, I don't know what this is, but I know the way it's appearing, you know? Meaning, like, I don't know whether this, I don't know when a thought says, oh, this person over there is thinking that. I don't know if that person is thinking that, but I do know that there's a thought here saying that person is thinking that. And you could say, well, you shouldn't have that thought. You shouldn't think. You shouldn't, like what the heck does that even mean? Like, and it's like both like holding the fact that like this could be anything and it means nothing, but it also is this way, which means nothing. And then it's like, so you could completely live in the reality of like, none of this is real, so I'm not going to engage with any of it, as much as you could live in the reality I'm going to engage completely in it, because it just is the only thing that is real. And it's not like there's a better way. The thing is, it's not even really a choice, because when you really see it for, you know, when you stop being able to relate to thought in that same way, like in that same like, I know, and it becomes like the other kind of knowing. Like, instead of like, I know that grass is green, it's like, I know there's a thought that says that grass is green. And that kind of knowing, like, it just starts to obliterate the other kind of knowing, because what do you fucking know? Like, what does anyone know when everything is just a thought? When you just see that like all it is just thoughts referencing thoughts. Doesn't mean that that's not real. It's just like that's just what it is. So like, I don't know, man. Like a thought references this thought. Like this ape is here thinking that thought, thinking that thought. Like I don't know whether it's true, but like also like I don't have to like be ashamed of it. Like I feel like part of like the really rigid opinionness of like reality or of people in our culture is like that the attempt to hide that, you know, it's like you're doubling down on what you actually know is not real because it's just a thought, and you sense that like precariousness of it, so you compensate for it even more. You know, it's like when someone pushes on your idea and you like realize you're wrong, and instead of being like, oh shit, I'm wrong, you're like, you fight harder. I feel like that's what's often happening with the ego. So it's like it just starts to like unwind itself, like especially I feel like when you start getting at these deeper beliefs, like the, you know, because it's like you have these models of like that create like value systems and hierarchies with which you then, you know, which all is really based upon this like future idea of yourself where like I can be better, I'm going to be different, and how do I know it's better? Because of this value system. And so they're like all intertwined. And you know, the highest value systems are like, I don't know, morality, or you know, it's essentially what identity is. It's like a value system. It says this is better and I'm more important or less important. And I feel like one of the most convincing ones is like the spiritual one, which is like, yeah, well, being nice and being kind and this should be, and you know, and it's very convincing. Like even as I say it, I can still feel like there's like that aspect of it that's convincing, because it infuses itself into so much. You know, it's like, yeah, well, I like being treated with kindness much more than I like being treated with not kindness. But honestly, if I really look at it, like so much of my dislike of being kindness is because my mind starts screaming, this is not okay. Whereas like if it's not screaming that, then it's just someone not being kind to me, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? Like it doesn't mean I have to like it. It just means that like it just is. And I can just relate to it as it is instead of having to like try to convince it that it's wrong, which it never it never wants, because it's not wrong. It's just an expression. Completely lost my train of thought. It'll come back. Right, so like those thoughts start to just fall apart, and then, you know, with them, like the vibrancy of what is and the uncompromising nature of it is just what it is. And it can be tricky when you come against someone who really believes that in that hierarchy, you know, who's like, well, you shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't feel angry because of this, because anger's bad and because you're in control of anger and you shouldn't. But like, I don't know, try not to be angry when you're angry, you know? There's just anger. And why is anger not good? Like anger tells an important lesson, you know, anger. And the person who, and so then like, you know, someone just comes at you and tries to convince you about how it's possible, but like you can't really find a way out of it. And really they're just reflecting their own like belief in that system, and they want you to buy into that system because it gives them control and it validates the structure that they live in. And you know, to the degree that you see clearly, you just see that it makes no sense. Like it's like someone trying to convince you that it's not, the color green is over there, and you're like, okay, yeah, like we don't have to call it green. Like we could call it verde, we could call it yarok, we could call it dog, but like I still see it. It's still there. Whatever you want to. And then they're like, well, but don't you know that like color is not a real thing, and there is no you experiencing it? And it's like, okay, that's just a thought. I just see this right here. I don't know if it's called grass. I don't know if it's called green. I don't know what green is, but it's just here. And then they're like, yeah, but don't you see that if you meditated 10 hours a day, it would no longer be green for you? And it's like, maybe. Is that better? Yeah, because can't you see that green is proof of the fact that you're not working hard enough, and I don't like green. And it's like, okay. But actually I just am sitting here and it seems pretty fine on this side that it's green. It's like there's just nothing to defend, because what are you defending, you know? And that's like at the core of that paradox, where like all of the not beingness is like, yeah, but it's not green, it's not this, there's nothing. But there is just a vivid aliveness. And that vivid aliveness is just so honest. And you can try to live not in accordance with that vivid aliveness, but you realize it doesn't change the vivid aliveness, you know? You can shame anger, but it doesn't make anger go away. It's like, well, if it's already here, I might just engage that. If I'm already here, I might as well just engage with it as it is. Like, God, there is so much relief in the helplessness of like, you know how like for so long it was such a struggle of like, I don't even know what to reference to know the right thing to do, you know? Like, I'm so disoriented. Like, do I look up or do I look down? Like, I don't know. Am I standing down or am I standing up? Am I upside down or am I right side up? And then it's like, it doesn't even matter. Because like, what are you afraid of? That you're not going to get what you want? Yeah, you're not going to get what you want. But what you want is not really to get what you want. What you want is to stop caring so freaking deeply about getting what you want. To just stop. To just rest. To just not have to do anything anymore. But like all of those things the mind will hear and be like, yeah, great, so I'm gonna go rest and then I'm gonna feel peace. But it's like, no, like if you feel crazy, like go be crazy. If you feel like running, go run. If you feel like you know, even like you think, you know, it's like reactivity work, like I don't want to live a life of reaction. What is reaction? What is the difference between reaction and expression? And I think what it is it's in a have to. Reaction is have to. And what this is it's not have to. It's like complete optionality. Because the grass being green doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that I have to tell everyone it's green. It doesn't mean that I have to not tell everyone it's green. And you know what feels terrible? Have to. It feels terrible when we do it to ourselves, and it feels terrible when we do it to each other. Because have to, we know, somewhere inside of us knows that there is no winning with have to. The slave is never happy. Because all the slave in that system, the happiness of the slave is when the slave master is happy with the slave. And that's nice for a bit, but you're still a fucking slave. I thought of this line recently, and it's like kind of a nice koan. It's the one who enslaves is the one who whispers that freedom is not possible. And that's what the slave master whispers. And it does it very much so in have-tos. It has to be this way. It has to be that way. You have to say this. You don't have to say this. You have to sit for an hour in meditation. You have to. And then along comes another person and they say, you have to. If you want me to love you, you have to do this. You want me to want to be with you, you have to do this. You want me to pay you, you have to do this. And the reality is, you don't have to. And that's, I think, I don't know, we can ask Buddha what reactivity work is, but that's how it relates. That's how it appears in me right now. It's just, there is no have to. Anger can be expressed through words, and anger can also not be expressed through words. But the minute it's a have to, the minute it's, I have to express my anger because ... because I never express my anger, and I'm afraid to express my anger, and then it's like, yep, belief. I don't know how to express my anger. Or it's like, I can't express anger because it's not good to express anger, and anger is bad, and anger will ruin relationships, and when you take that have to away, it really removes the controlling nature of that energy, the defensive, the aggressive nature of that energy. You might be angry with the person, but it doesn't have the same fire to it, because you're aware that and that's that paradox. It's you're aware that yes, there's anger here, but also it doesn't really mean anything, and it's all just one big story, and you're choosing to play this part of the story right now because you're a character and you're on stage, and why the hell not? And literally, why the hell not? Not because you have to, but just I don't know, why not? Someone wrote the lines and I'm here. But also you can just so easily, it can just not be there, but it's not gonna not be there because someone else doesn't like it. That's a have to, someone else can not like it, and you can still do it, We should definitely respect other people's boundaries, and we don't really have a choice, we don't really have a choice, because ultimately those boundaries enforce themselves. And we can approach with curiosity when we find a boundary, but even sometimes there's a boundary against that, I don't want to talk about this. Well, why don't you want to talk about it? I don't want to talk about it. Well, what if we talk about it and then it's finally, it's no more words. Can't make me talk. And I think especially around boundary work, there often does feel a bit of a have to, when someone's violating your boundaries, then it can really feel I really have to set a boundary here. And that makes sense, someone's coming at you with a knife, the reaction is, it's not you get to choose whether or not to defend yourself. I think that's a really interesting place to explore. Do I have to put a boundary here? And I think for each of us, that kind of have to appears differently. Some people, it's I have to put a boundary here, and I cannot have this conversation. And then it's well, I don't know, maybe what would happen if you did have that conversation? What if there wasn't a have to here? But it's not you have to, just what if? And then for others, it's I can't set a boundary here. I have to engage. And then it's well, what if you did set a boundary here? What if you just said nothing more? What if you just said nothing more here? And you let them be unhappy with your boundary. And they got to learn the lesson of how to respect someone else's boundary. And you can do it with love, It's not you have to be angry at them to set a boundary. You could just be yeah, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And then they want to keep talking about it, it's I don't want to talk about this anymore. I love you, but I don't want to talk about this anymore. No have to here. Ako? Sometimes he likes to go inside on his own. Like, I find it sometimes, especially around like strong sensations where the have to is very subtle. It's like, I have to sit with this and not react to this. Because I'll break my have to do the, but then that's just a have to energy, you know? It's almost just like the middle way, like, it's just like being free. I don't have to think about this. And I feel like that's really like probably the core have to. I don't know if it's the core, but like maybe the one that, the deepest I've gotten down, which is like, I have to think. I have to know. I have to think. I have to figure this out. What if you don't? Might feel a lot of fear. Why is fear bad? Fear is relief. Fear is freedom. It's not that you have to feel fear so fear goes away. Being able to feel fear, rest in fear, is free. Relief. And it's like, I imagine people, you know, if one day I share these videos and people watch them, they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna be like that. But it's like, you already are like that. You already are awake. You might imagine that my life looks some way. But my life doesn't look any way. My life, this video is just sharing from this. It's not saying anything is one way or another. It's not saying it should be one way or another, you should be one way or another. It's saying it already is perfect. You are already awake. There's nothing more to find. And there will be more finding. But not through searching, through spontaneity. Thank you.